All right, all right. Welcome back to the Universal Thought Podcast, where we share universal thoughts, ideas, concepts, philosophies, and we have all around great conversation with some great people. And today, we have a very, very special guest in the house. Now, I've had a lot of people on the podcast. Politicians, artists, musicians. We have people on this podcast that can offer perspective and can add to the conversation, right? And today we have a candidate that's actually running for mayor, Mr. Melvin Burgess. He's the Shelby County Assessor of Property in Tennessee. He assumed office in 2018. His current term ends September 1st, 2026. Burgess ran for re-election for Shelby County Assessor of Property in Tennessee. He won in general election in August 4th, 2022. Burgess was the District 7 representative on the Shelby County Board of Commissioners in Shelby County from 2010 to 2018. First elected to the position 3 seat in District 2 in 2010, and he won re-election in the newly created District 7 on August 7, 2014. So I present to you all Mr. Melvin Burgess.
Thank you, sir.
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good.
Good.
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming out. Yes, sir. We kept running into some issues, man. I know you're a busy man. We finally got you.
When you look at your schedule, just like when you called me yesterday, we connected, and I know someone wanted to swap it around, and I had something, so I said, no, I got to get to you today. Right. Especially, it was from yesterday, but I'm just glad I'm here, and that you took the initiative when we met at Mississippi Boulevard, and we just stayed consistent. And I believe in what you're doing, and as the podcast and trying to get the word out, so our community can see and they can hear what's really going on. So that's why I'm here, and thank you for having me here.
Not a problem. I appreciate you coming. That's actually how we met. I seen his debate. He was very strong in his debate. We met in the lobby, and he said, everybody was trying to pull at him and get his attention. He told me, don't go nowhere. Don't you go nowhere. Stay right there. And I appreciate that because, you was attentive. And right. People that come to you and they want to, whatever the case may be, you're still a people person. That's right. You know what I'm saying? So tell my audience a little bit about yourself, where you come from, and why you actually decided to run for mayor.
Okay. Well, the first thing I want to take some steps backwards when you said I was a lot of being tempted. I was tempted because I see what you're trying to do. Right. And I try to be a pillar for these younger guys, African American males, just to set an example. Say, hey, look, I see what you're doing, so I want to ensure that I support your work and support what you do. And that's what we got to do more of as elected officials. You getting involved, you getting the message out, because believe it or not, our people in our community, they just don't understand. Like you said, I'm the assessor of property. They still don't understand that process. Right. No matter how hard you hit it, and the other elected officials who should be helping me put it out there, it's like we don't do it. So we don't educate our people to different processes. But I'm gonna get started. Melvin Burgess, of course I got my name. My dad was the police director under Dr. Harrington. Okay. So that's how I got the name recognition. And my dad was part of the second class of black patrolmen that walking on Beale Street. The first patrol that walked on Beale Street, the African Americans in the community of Orange Mound were complaining to then Mayor Crump that the white officers was going into the black communities and they were beating up our black males. So the community went to the Mayor Crump to say, hey, look, we need some black policemen. Right. So that's how that walking to Beale Street, it was called the First Nine. My dad was the second nine. The First Nine, just think about it, back then where you couldn't ride in cars, you couldn't arrest Caucasians, and you had to walk back to the station. So of course he was doing that time. Right. But just the fact that my father stayed there, and no matter what he went through, he made it to the top. So that's how I got my name. So my parents grew up in Memphis. I got a twin sister.
Oh wow, identical.
Well, when it's a boy or girl, it's kind of different. Yeah. Okay. So then you can tell we brothers and sisters. But my parents divorced in 1975. So my mother, who's an educator, she took a principal's job up in Denver, Colorado.
Right.
Because in those times, you know, I was part of that first busing class. I grew up in South Memphis off Alsea. Yeah, Alsea, and it was definitely a village. Because the school, Alsea Elementary, most of the teachers that worked there, guess what? They lived in the neighborhood, so it was that kind of village where it produced today.
Right.
Jarvis Reed, one of the best cancer doctors in this city. Archie Griffin, who's a pain doctor. So we produced a lot of, you know, professionals that are now because our parents pushed education during that time. And of course, I was part of that first busing class in 1975. That was bus to Wooddale. That's the only East Memphis I knew at that time.
Right.
But anyway, so we moved there. My mom remarried a guy to LA, and he was a aeronautical engineer in Denver, and that's how we did our junior high years of high school. And of course, I attended Grambling State University. That's where my dad went. And worked up in an accounting firm for about 2 or 3 years, and I decided to move back home. So that's how I got back here to Memphis.
Right.
After growing, you know, doing my junior high school, and some of the colleges when I worked in an accounting firm in Denver, that's how I got back to Memphis. And my mom, who just died, died this time last year, I think March the 3rd. She was right at 88 years old, played Stippy piano, was still teaching music lessons, lived on Harbor Town. I live in Midtown, so she was close to me. And one thing I always cherished, but I didn't see it back then because I was young, was that I'm glad I went somewhere else to stay because I was exposed.
Right.
I grew up in a Jewish community.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, learned how to ski. I know how to ski. So it's totally a different ball game. You know, when you get the exposure, and that's what's wrong, I think, with a lot of, you know, I'm gonna say, just a lot of people, they're not exposed. But I always, you know, said, look, I really appreciate you, Mom. But back then when you're young, got a twin sister, you're leaving all your friends, and you're in that junior high, you're just getting to junior high, you know, your friends, and it just cut off. But before she died, I said, I never forget, I really appreciate you, you know, exposing us, you know, to that, you know, to Denver, Colorado. And of course, I'm a Denver Bronco fan since the early 70s, the Orange Crush.
Oh, wow.
And so my mom moved back here about 15 years ago because she wanted to be close to me, close to home, because this is where she's from. So it was a little hard for her because of all her friends had died, and, you know, she just didn't have that connection to Memphis and Denver. Where I promise you, Denver and Memphis are totally two different cities.
Yes,
totally
sir.
Different cities. So, you know, but decided to come back and ran for office, and I just always been a public servant. My father was a public servant, so, you know, this is where I am, and I just want to, you know, while I got breath in my body, to continue to, you know, try to, you know, tell the people what's going on, being transparent, and just making sure that they understand, they know, you know, of what county government or what the assessor's office or, you know, what it has to offer to make Shelby County a better place to live and play.
Right. Wow, you said Denver, Colorado. My brother, and his name is Eric too.
Okay.
He was adopted.
Okay.
He's in Denver, Colorado. He owns a club. He loves it. So let me ask you this: what would you say? I ain't gonna say the biggest difference, because obviously it's a big difference. But what would you say that Memphis could kind of change as it relates to Denver, Colorado?
So,
or the biggest difference that you see, that, man, like, if we change this type of mindset, if people understand this, then maybe we could get, I guess, the people, you know, to rally around each other and have more unity.
the first thing I would say is, first of all, Denver African Americans are not the minority, are not the super majority.
Right.
No way.
Right.
I went to high school, it was totally, Asians, Iranians, Hispanic. It has a very large Hispanic population, and Denver, Colorado does. Matter of fact, one of our mayors was Hispanic. His name was Federico Pena, and he was the one that worked in the Clinton administration. So he was the one that orchestrated that airport. The airport, and it's called, it's now DIA.
DIA.
It's where you fly into now. But the difference is that Denver don't have no ghettos or no bad areas. They don't even have crime, because guess what? Everybody's working. So it's a cohesiveness there to where African Americans, they work together, and I don't say it was easy then, but yeah, back during that time, it wasn't that difficult to start your own business, like electrician or whatever the case might be. And there was opportunities, but the most important thing was they helped each other. But they helped each other. Like that new DIA airport at the time. Also, my classmate Michael Hancock used to be the mayor of Denver, and he's not. He's the same colors that you and I.
Right.
And so it lets you understand that. Of course, it's gonna always be a division there, but it didn't matter when you're running for mayor and you're doing good things for the city. So they're not hung up on the race thing. I don't think they're not hung up on the black and white. It's all about who can do the job. And I know when that airport was built, there was a lot of opportunities for African Americans. And guess what? They're still making money off the airport, like Maynard Jackson in Atlanta. So I think Memphis misses the opportunities when you can make black millionaires or bring wealth to African Americans. But until we do that here, Shelby County's gonna always be faced with some of the ills it has, like crime, poverty, education, until we decide or until we get the guts to understand how do we create black wealth in this county. You're gonna still find yourself to where you're not a voice.
Right.
I'm gonna always be a voice because that's who I am.
Right.
But some of us are not going to be a voice because you're not an independent thinker. Somebody's thinking for you.
Come on, man.
Yeah. So in Denver, they had this guy named Jimmy Armstrong. I didn't work for him, but he had an accounting firm. We used to all get together over his house and play basketball. All the black young professors, everything, and it was just a bond. You can talk to him. He said, "Hey, look, come by my office. Let me holler at you." It just wasn't a lot. They helped you.
Yeah.
It was that kind of relationship. Where they help you.
I see that in you, man. Like, and that's actually going to be another question. So, first of all, on this podcast, we try to understand how people think, right? We know in Memphis, first of all, there's a lot of corruption. Even though I live in Hernando, I'm from Memphis, born in Batesville, Mississippi, but raised in Orange Mound, right? Moved to East Memphis, went to Ridgeway. I know a lot of the politicians. I was actually on Harrington's campaign team when he ran. He lost to Paul, but that's my guy. Doc is my guy. I love a real person.
That's right.
You have a lot of experiences with different types of people, and I know again with the type of the political environment that we have in Memphis, their intent is not always right. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's somebody trying to get in a position to get money, power, whatever the case may be. I see it all the time. What is your overall intent to be mayor?
Overall intent to be mayor is a better way of life for people that look like me and you. Because right now, they're not experiencing that. When I came back to Memphis, the difference between Memphis and Denver when I got here, maybe because it's a population where there's not a lot of minorities as far as people look like you and I there versus here, right? But seem like here in Memphis is that we want to see each other do bad. It's like we don't want to see each other do good. But what happens is, I feel you got that the attitude is like that here is because it's not enough of it to go around.
Yeah.
So what happens is that we start pulling on each other. It's going to only be given to, let's be real, to certain individuals, right? So I feel that when you're in a leadership position, to make it better, like a good example, Dr. Harrington was responsible for giving me my first job for the school system. I got an accounting background. Oh, okay. And I retired from the district in 2018 as the chief internal auditor. And he got me my start. He one that I made the phone call. That's how the board used to be. Here, you call me and say, "Hey, look, Mr. Bird, my cousin in town, he need a job." I got it. That's how the school board used to be until that merger came. It used to be that way for African Americans, back in the day. So, it was in my office. And during the merger, I remember they were trying to get us to take people from different offices from the county school system to the city. But they wanted me to get rid of some of my people, to bring their people, right? So it was a race thing, but you know what? I didn't do that.
Did they get rid of you for that?
Well, I paid for it.
Yeah.
I paid for it.
Okay.
You know, and by the grace of God, my dad always taught me, you do the right thing, the right thing will follow you.
Yeah.
You know, so I've always believed that, you know, people who are qualified, because I asked myself the question, now if it was the other way around, well, they would have hired you, right? Versus me taking in, you know, a white person.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And of course, you know, it was like, I think the HR guy told me, he said, Bird, you might want to mix it up a little bit. I said, I get all of that, man, but fair is fair for me. If this person going to come over as a CFO to my office who can't do her job over there, I'm going to bring her here and give her somebody that can do the job.
Man, come on, man.
That's how it works for me.
Right.
Because that's the right thing to do.
That's the right thing to do.
You know, it's not a, you know, but by the grace of God, God has put me where I am on my pathway, you know, and if that wouldn't have happened, you know, I had 30 years in 2018, so, you know, I walked away and then I became the, you know, the assessor of property, so it worked out for myself, you know, and one thing about it, I keep God first.
Right.
And
right.
I know he's going to put me in the way, just like with selection, he's going to put me where he wants me to be.
Right.
You know, and there are a lot of things that I'm hearing, I'm seeing, it's just hard to believe, you know, what you're hearing, you know, with some of the candidates, because, I mean, I've been here, I've done the work on both sides of it, so it's I mean, when are we going to get the heroism to step out and say, what's the real cause in Shelby County of why we're in the position we're in? We had to call on the National Guard, and we had to call on this task force. Well, where I live in inner city and the districts I've always, you know, represented, they were the poor districts.
Right.
New Chicago, North Memphis, Klondike, Smoker City, right?
Right.
And guess what? Those people were glad that the task force was there. And I tell them, I go speak, I said, y'all who live out of East Memphis or wherever you live, I said, I tell you what, I was talking to the municipality mayors and I have a relationship with all of them. And I said, let me ask you a question. I said, tell me why you live where you live. I said, don't answer, I'm answering for you. I said, you live where you live because you want a better way of life for your family. Right? I said, everybody wants that.
Exactly.
Right? I said, these, you know, the task force where people go home, you got a drug house next door, or you got crime or whatever. I said, people feel that they're not getting, you know, their due cause or their due was, they pay taxes like everybody else. Mm-hmm. And there's a group that we have left behind, and it's showing we have left a group of constituents or a group of a population behind, and that's why we're suffering right now. We left them behind with no resources. And that's why we are where we are.
Right. So do you think, and I always wanted this, do you think it's really effective? And I know you do believe this because you're actually running for mayor. Uh-huh. But how effective do you, in your honest opinion, how effective do you think a black mayor can actually affect change in a black neighborhood on its own merit and not be corrupted by the system that's supposed to be running everything?
Look, all you got to do, which I have proven in the assessor's office. I was assessor of the year for the entire state, assessor of the year West Tennessee, and I got the Lifetime Achievement Award for stepping out, pushing the 2-year real appraisal that we took to the state that they denied, but now it's the best thing to apple pie. But I was always looking out for the residential. Because when you're doing a 2-year real appraisal, it'll knock out the sales ratio that Shelby counties are paying for. But guess who benefit from the sales ratio? Who don't benefit from it? Federal Express, International Paper. See, they benefit from the 4-year real appraisal where we don't. And that's what I was pushing. So what happened was, you know, I was like, well, how come I don't receive personal property schedules? That's the schedule I send out if you got a business.
Right.
Well, call the state. They tried to give me a hard time, but they eased up and sent me the information. So I was like, well, wait a minute now. I was looking at their schedules like the big company. I mean, I know I can't fight them, right? We did like a little fight, but we couldn't fight them. But the point I made to them, and they said this because I got a relationship with the state. They said this. They said, well, why is the assessor now looking at these now for? I made my point.
Right.
We looking at them.
Right.
Now, I just got there in 2018. What about the assessors that were there that looked like me before I got there? It's about doing the work too. That's number one, the work.
Right.
And I'm gonna always have a team of people that you gotta think outside the box. And I learned that when I was on the executive team with Dr. Cash with the school system. He made us think outside the box. He said, Bird, it's an internal audit. What can you do to achieve what I achieved? If you're a superintendent, your number one goal is academic achievement. So I had to bring my plan of internal audit to help him. What can you do that's going to move my needs for these kids to achieve? So I had to come up with a plan. Right. So when the people when I become mayor, if you're going to work for me, you got to come up with a plan of what I want to put together to help neighborhoods, healthcare, new businesses. So if you ain't moving the needle for me, you're not serving me no purpose. I want everybody to be energized and, hey, look, we're gonna make a change. I mean, it's a heavy lift, but you gotta have the right people in place.
Right.
You gotta have and then the first thing we gotta put in place is our financial, because right now the county's in trouble. Financially, it's in trouble.
Right.
So, you're gonna have to make sure that, like, we're trying to build a regional one. We're trying to think about doing a new jail. I went to visit the jail yesterday.
You told me that, yeah. Looking terrible down there.
Yeah, but the first thing I'd be thinking about when I walked in that room, all them guys look like me and you.
Yeah.
Maybe about 2 or 3 of the maybe Hispanic and other gender. But what goes through my mind is, what can we do to keep them out of here?
Right.
I mean, what can we do? How can we make it better? And I also work with an initiative. I'm part of the Delta Boulay, where it talks about parity when it comes to jobs with African American, versus the other. They're way up here. It's because of the jobs, STEMs, medical doctors, lawyers. We got kids here that can be on that track. But how do county government interact and work with the chamber to make sure those kids are on that track? Because my girls didn't come back here to live. I got 2 girls that finished Spelman. One went to Columbia and got a graduate degree. Well, guess what? She's the chief of staff in a company in New York. And my youngest one got a degree in anthropology, and she's working over at Emory. So what I'm trying to say is, a lot of our kids that I hear from, my friends' kids, they're not coming back to Memphis because they don't want to come back here to load planes at FedEx and work at UPS or work for county government.
Right.
So we got those jobs. They might be here, but our kids are not getting those jobs. So we got to have a pathway for our kids to be on that path to get those kind of jobs.
Yeah.
Because they pay well, right. Versus, and nothing wrong with loading a plane. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But I'm just saying, if you're a parent and you have put that into your kids, an investment in your kids when it comes to education, your expectation is for your kids to be ready to do what they need to do. So that's going to be part of my workforce development. That's going to be part of my plan also.
Okay.
Making sure not just jobs are brought here, but good paying jobs. But the number one issue I'd say is that, so what they do when it comes to the assessors part of it is that when companies come here, it's kind of like it's like I'm courting you and I'm gonna give you a pallet. Pallets are payment in lieu of taxes, so I'm giving you a tax break to bring a company into Memphis in Shelby County. So I'm gonna say, you know what, you ain't gotta pay taxes in 15 years. So that's what invites companies to come into your city.
Right.
They call pallets. So basically what I'm doing is I'm saying, well, Eric, you ain't got to pay your taxes. You're going to bring your company to Memphis. You're going to give us jobs. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. Well, guess what? Electrolux came here, right? They broke their agreement, right? Mm-hmm. And in breaking their agreement, they didn't pay all of what they supposed to pay. So they ended up owing us $37 million. They just up and left, right? We did nothing about it. We talked about it. Leadership did nothing about it. So we gave them that building that they were in with no clawbacks. But guess who they're receiving lease from in that building? XAI.
XAI.
Yeah, XAI is in that building now. They own, where they owe us money, right?
Right.
That we gave them. So now they're getting lease payments from XAI to Little, but they owe us money. See, you don't hear people talk about that. You see, so those are some really bad decisions. And when we do give our pilots, how is it coming back to our neighborhoods?
Right.
Like some of these companies. And, a good example of that is you can look around, like in Memphis, especially Memphis, because it's on life support. It's the oldest municipality. You can look around where companies come in, and guess what? The buildings are empty. You see what I'm saying? So we got to have some legislation where, what do we do to make our neighborhoods inviting? Because for the most part, blight, my wife's from Orange Mountain too. That's what most of the properties are that are blighted, that are in the land bank that the county owns.
Right.
Put them properties back on the roll so we can get people in them, because at the end of the day, home ownership deters crime in a neighborhood. And when you see all that blight and stuff you see out there, you're paying for it in your taxes. So we got to be really serious about that, because the county can't pay $3 million to keep the grass cut. So how do we get those properties back on the roll in our neighborhoods? Because guess what? If a good neighborhood, what follows next? A good school.
Yeah.
And that's why people are migrating out and leaving the inner city just flat.
You talked a lot about economic growth. That's what you led with, and it caught my attention when you said it. So I got kind of a loaded question here. So first of all, do you think it's a good idea? Some people don't look at it as a good thing when outside investors come in and they buy up a lot of property here in Memphis. For people that's trying to understand how that works, how would you describe the process to people that's trying to understand whether or not that's a good or a bad thing, or how we can involve ourselves and try to get some of this, some of this real estate?
So two things. So they got what you call, they're called hedge fund investors, right?
Okay.
And there's an acronym, I think it's called REIS. And what they are, they're investors. They got over 570,000 properties, shopping centers all over the country. So, it's not a bad thing, but what has happened is that they have come in and bought a lot of our inventory up. So that means that the realtors are in limbo. So now they pay their taxes, but guess what they don't do? They don't keep the properties up. So I don't know how old you are. We look pretty young. See, I grew up in a village where home ownership was like kind of like a plus, because remember the day a homeowner has more stake in a neighborhood than a renter does. So they're gonna look at the stuff look totally different. So when I came on in 2019, I saw where there was an issue. We did a revitalization plan over for Orange Mountain. Matter of fact, it was in the New York Times magazine, because they tried to compare it to Harlem, of how Harlem built itself up. So when we were doing that, we tried to get some legislation. I put a moratorium on it to where can't nobody buy, I took a little hit. I didn't get in no big trouble, but we were trying to figure out how can we slow it down. So we tried to come up with maybe an HOA, but guess what? They went out and got lobbyists.
Yeah.
So it's difficult. People always say, we need a village. Well, you won't have a village anymore because we've allowed, I ain't gonna say we, but in your vulnerable neighborhoods where they see there's a problem, where you're getting a call like every other day about you want to sell your property. See, they know who you are, they know where your properties are.
Right.
First thing I would do, I would get rid of the land bank. The land bank is the properties that the county takes and you don't pay your property tax. Of course, most of the properties in the land bank come from 38114, which is mostly Orange Mountain.
Right.
About 3,000 or 4,000 properties. So you need to come up with a plan, how we put them houses back on the road, and how would we get that neighborhood back up and going, get your neighborhoods going first, because people don't want to live outside their neighborhoods, right? Let's turn back to the pallets. So we have over 532 pallets, and I think Nashville has maybe about 12. So out of those pallets, when the trustee, Regina Newman, collects the property taxes, we got to pay $52 million off the top because of pallets. You see, so that money could be going somewhere else, because it sure ain't going back to our neighborhoods but we abating taxes for businesses. But how is that benefiting an Orange Mountain resident or a person who lives, in that area when it comes to the abatement part of it? Right. The other thing you talked about with businesses, right? So here in Memphis or Shelby County, what I've learned, take some steps backwards. You know what a Sheraton Hotel is downtown? Sheraton Hotel. So a good friend of mine and two other investors that are from Memphis tried to come together to buy that hotel.
Right.
They look like you and I. Okay. And I don't know what happened. I don't know how the deal, it didn't go through, but there was an opportunity where we in leadership could have made that happen. They could have made that happen.
Is there any reason why you think it probably didn't happen, considering who they were? And
of course, the person that's in leadership, right. It's
gatekeep them out, basically.
Well, it's like, obviously he must have thought, whoever the leader was must have thought that it was best for the city to buy it versus giving it to an independent, investor group that's from Memphis, right, and is of African American descent. And it could have been the same model that Maynard Jackson did at their airport that he did for African Americans. All those vendors you see in the airport in Atlanta, they're owned by African Americans.
Right.
See, so they could have been the same, but guess what? It was connected to the Renaissance Center. See? Okay. So how come a deal like that, once again, when we put people in high positions that can make deals for African Americans, get them going, just think what they could have done to downtown. It could have produced jobs. It could have produced construction. Whatever it could have produced. But one thing I learned about Shelby County is that they don't just allow people to come in like that. It's a hand around it. They determine, who gonna come in or it's gonna stay here locally. That's why I think the city, or the city of Memphis can't grow like it has the potential to grow. Because I still feel that, we don't be careful. I look at the Memphis Grizzlies. I love the Grizzlies, right? Yeah. But if we don't be careful, like my thing is, why don't we go out on 40 and build a multi-million-dollar stadium and put eateries and shops? I love Beale Street. Yeah. But there come a point in time where you gotta grow. If you want to be a big NBA team, if you want to be a big market for the NBA, you got to attract. You got to have things that's going to attract these teams. And if you want to be in the SEC or if you want to be in the Big Ten or whatever the case might be, that's how you got to think. But I still feel that there's an outside group here that I think that holds that growth back. Yeah. I think that's why it's so difficult, and that's why people always say, when people say, man, Memphis and Atlanta, they were neck and neck. Yeah, I do. I kind of believe that a little bit, but Atlanta got the best top black colleges in the country. Right. And they got Georgia Tech, and they got Emory, and they got Georgia State. Right. So it starts with education. So, but it's going to take somebody, Eric, to be the voice. That's why I have on my literature bold leadership. It has to start somewhere. Yeah. It has to be start talking about it at the table somewhere. Because I told them when I became the assessor, I talked to the Alliance group, and this is all the developers in this county. And the guy that's over the Alliance group, I was the chairman pro tem of the county commission under him. His name was Mike Ritz. He's a Republican. And he invited me out. The first time I went, they didn't really want to say, they didn't say much because I was running in the race and I hadn't won yet. But of course, when I won, they wanted to talk to me. Right. So when I got there, they had the electric looks. I was by myself on one side. It was probably about, give or take, maybe about 30 to 40 on the other side. So I said, well, first of all, I looked at that thing. So I said, first of all, I said, here, we give you pilots, right, to build these luxury apartments. But I said, I know y'all didn't vote for me. Right. That's okay. Right. But I'm here to support you, right? And I said, so what do I go back for the people who put me in office, but yet them apartments you build, we abate taxes and they can't afford to stay in them? Ain't something wrong with that picture? Yeah. Right? So I said some other stuff too. And one of the developers got up and said, Assessor, that was the most disturbing introduction I had ever heard. So next, but guess what? In about 3 weeks, got a call from him, and he wanted me to do him a favor. Right? And when I say favor, it was all aligned to when it comes to appraising new bill that had never been done before. But guess what? I wrote a letter for every developer to say, hey, look, I will not assess your new bill until you are 85% complete. But I let them know where I come from. Right. I let them know that, what you're doing here, and I'm going to do this for you because, I want to see economic development, but now we got to figure out how the people who put me in this office, how they can stay there too, or can you build some apartments where, they can afford. They can afford, right? And another thing we got to look at too is how do we house or have new bill for our senior citizens. For instance, people that go to my church over in South Memphis on Walker, a lot of your older members, they want to be somewhere in maybe in their neighborhood. They don't want to go way out to a nursing home, way out. So we got to figure out how do we start taking care of our aging because, now people living longer because of the health care is better. Yeah. So people living longer now. So what do we do to keep our the people that we went to church with, the older folks, keep them in our neighborhoods because they don't want to go way out there. So we got to figure out, that's another thing we got to figure out, how do we house our aging?
That's a great point. I like that. Man, so let me kind of back up a little bit. You said something. Let me ask you this real quick. Tell the people what your role is as an assessor. What is an assessor for people that don't know?
Okay, so it's unfortunate that the only way this county receives its revenue to run its municipalities in this county is property taxes. Okay. I don't care. Home Depot, Lowe's, Wolf Chase Mall, it doesn't matter. They have to pay property taxes, right? then I have over 389 parcels. Those are, when I say parcels, that's what we look at.
Right.
Of course, we don't go to every one and look at it. We have drones, and you can go online in Shelby County, and you can pull up your property address. They tell you everything about your property. And so, by the state, here in the state of Tennessee, it's the law in the state of Tennessee that property taxes, for the most part, you collect, you assess, but I have to make sure that, the assessments that I do are aligned, to the state, to the state's, it's called the Tennessee Code Annotated. It's like the Bible. It comes out of the DPA, which is the Division of Property Assessors. It's kind of like a guide to ensure that we assess everybody's property fair. And that's why when I do I got a 4-year real appraisal I do. So I wait 4 years to come out to tell you, Eric, that, this is what your appraisal is now. But that's why I was trying to do the 2-year real appraisal, because why you want to wait 4 years when you can go ahead and catch the growth as it's happened the first 2 years?
Right.
Why you want to wait 4 years when you say, look, Eric, your property values are good, they're going up, but I always give you a time to, to dispute that.
Right.
What we talked about earlier is that, we just don't understand the process. So getting back to my job, is to make sure that I, for the most part, assess your property in compliance and it's equitable and it's as close as we can get. But I give you a chance to come see me and say, look, Assessor Burgess, this ain't right. Can you look at it? Of course we can look at it. But they got a state board you can go to if we don't have if we don't give you the answers that you want, and then if the local board don't approve it, then you go to the state. So, but what I found is that we just don't know to contest it. But the other side know. The other side got $3-4 million houses. They hire appeal attorneys to come in and fight theirs. But see, so they have people to fight theirs.
Right.
To fight what I send out.
Right.
And guess what? They can overturn it.
Okay, that's what I wanted to get to. The one thing that one of the main things I don't like about politics is that when I've been in rooms where them Republicans over there and it's like the Cowboys going against the 49ers. You know what I'm saying? And I don't like that. I get it, and most black people are kind of indoctrinated to even just root for the Democratic Party. I get it. Me too. I was the same way. But now I think about the idea, like the mindset behind people. I don't really care who you are, as long as you got a good heart and your heart aligns, with your actions. So, do you agree with, or you opposed to, reaching across the table or taking, I don't want to say advice, but good ideas from people that have a difference of a political view than you do?
Let me tell you something. When I was on the county commission, we worked very close with the Republicans. You can't get nothing done being divided.
Right.
And they have more resources, right? And I'm going to tell you a good example of that. A good friend of mine named George Chisholm, representing Collierville. So they had redrawn the lines from my district, District 7. So now I was representing Binghamton, right? I picked up a phone call and said, Commissioner Chisholm, can you give me some bleachers out there at that little stadium they putting out there in Binghamton? He said, yes, that's no problem. Guess what? They got bleachers.
Right.
Well, they play football in Binghamton.
Right.
So everybody got different resources, and some of my best friends, I can say it, some of my best friends, they matter.
Right.
Okay, that's your views, that's my views. But I know if I needed something, vice versa, but we work together. Because some have the resources. And you want to go, like my thing is, I hear it on the campaign trail and we do debates. I heard one of the candidates said, bowing down. Bowing down? You trying to tell me I got those awards from the state?
Oh, I heard.
Because either I didn't do the job, or either I didn't know anybody. It was two things. I did a great job, and I knew a lot of people. I knew people, and they looked at my work, and they saw what I was doing. So guess what? I was recognized for it, and I got the relationship with them.
Right.
I pick up the phone. They Republicans. Come on. The Republicans is the majority down here in the state, Tennessee. These rural legislators. That's who runs this. That's who runs this state. The rural legislators. So you got to get in and say, okay, bowing down. I bow down. What I need to do to bring what's back to my neighborhoods and to the people that put me in office.
Right.
My dad always told me, Either you can be at the table or be on the menu. That's how that works.
No, that's
so
right.
It's not about bowing down. It's about these little young. I was coming from church the other day. It's been a little while ago. Coming from church, and I saw a young lady pushing a grocery basket full of clothes and 3 babies in front of her. Eric, there's something wrong with that.
I know that. Yeah, exactly.
There's something wrong with that. But yeah, you expect this kid to get up in the morning, to have breakfast, to go in the classroom and be ready to be taught. There's something wrong. So that's another part of things that just provide these young ladies and young parents with just the basic resources. So only way you're gonna get basic resources is doing what? Going down and talking to people who got the resources.
Right.
That's the only way we're gonna be able to do that. So it's not about bowing down. That comes from maturity, and that comes from exposure too.
What's the main thing that the other candidates would probably or have in the past used against you as kind of a smear or to make themselves look good? What would they say about you? Like he did this because I heard that bow down. I can't remember who did it, but I heard it.
Yeah. What am I gonna say? I think what they could say is for me is I speak my mind and I'm gonna tell the truth, but I'm not a fool. I understand how this thing works, but I'm not gonna come here on your podcast and say something I don't believe in,
right?
And don't execute. Right? If you call me and tell me you want something done, just like you and I trying to get together, I said I'm gonna make this happen. And I know my schedule was popping up because I know how important being on here and telling the community what some of the questions you're asking me that they really want to hear. Because you ain't gonna be on here like right here. It's good, but now when you get into the public, you're gonna be saying things that people want to hear. Right. And that's what we do. Right. That's what, because you're trying to get elected. And a lot of things are going on, and the voting base. Some of it I don't understand because out of all of them on that as candidates, I got 4 years experience in government. From elected official twice. I ran countywide from and got 80% of the vote. Right. So, but now I guess some people come in and say, well, you need a change, but no, the county's at some very hard times financially. They can't even pass a budget. Their budget can't even get approved by the state. But yet we got a commissioner that's on there that says he's the budget chair. And we got another person, the CAO, that says, I'm experienced. Well, if you're experienced, how come the budget ain't approved? I was a budget chair 2 years, and we always got our budget approved. So, what's the problem? But again, they're not going to say that on the trail. And a lot of people don't even know that. When the county, the state billed the county $43 million for this task force. Yeah. The county, they were struggling trying to figure out where they're going to get it from. Wow. Because it's unexpected expense. Yeah. But the main thing is that it's going to be some challenges. Trying to build a new jail, trying to build a new regional one. It's going to be some challenges, not just for the mayor, but also for the county commission, because you got a lot of new people coming on. But and you know what, Eric? When it comes to the elected part, when I wanted to be a county commission, see, back then I could go to your Vasco Smith, your Jesse Turns, your Walter Babies. Those were icons. Where now, I think people now just wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to run. Not even knowing what the job does. The county commission has so much power. Yeah. A lot of power. And Commissioner Brooks, who's running for re-election, she served with me. She's the one that brought the DOJ in to look at our juvenile court, how those kids were being treated, the parents couldn't come, and she made a difference. That's the kind of power the commission has to make sure that we're getting the resources that we're needed, to help us be better citizens, have a better community. That's the power that the county commission has. But that's the only thing people can say about me. I'm gonna tell you like it is. Yeah. That's how my dad was like that too. But I'm gentle. I might sound harsh and. I just don't. I don't do that. I don't do that.
Yeah. It's you know how black people are, man. We go for the people we've been knowing or seeing the most, the person we like, and we don't even know that person's background. We don't even know what their agenda is. I personally like underdogs. I like to see a person with passion, because it lets me know, they really serious. They ain't with the political game. They dead ass serious. And I saw that in you, and I saw that in a couple other. And the crazy part about it is, and I'm not saying who I'm endorsing. even if I'm endorsing Melvin, I'm not gonna say it on the podcast. Sure. But what I will say is, there's people that I can tell that I can, and it's not to say nothing bad about nobody, but I've been in the same rooms with certain people several times, been introduced to them involuntarily. It wasn't me hey, you need to meet this person. You need to meet this person. Mm-hmm. That same person can't even look me in the eye when they see me for some reason. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, and then they try to get booked on the podcast. They won't even acknowledge me. They won't say nothing. So it's telling me, okay, how is it that somebody that could possibly vote for you, could possibly rally behind you, could possibly get other, could put out a message and send other people to let them know, hey, this is the best, best person for the job, but you won't. It tells me something. How can you be for people when you, like, personally, you only seem like you a good person when you're up speaking. When you're not in front of a camera or you're not in front of a microphone, you got this, I'm too good to be, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You came right up to me, man, we rapped and it was natural. Mm-hmm. That's what I like. That's what, what, come on now.
That's who I am.
So, hey, and I gotta say this, black people, listen, understand, know what questions to ask, and understand energy, and not quit going for the person that you think is just the most popular and you like him and he cute or whatever the case may be, or she or whoever, you know what I'm saying? So, but I do have a question that came in as an email. So this person asks, you already know what this is. All right. So Memphis residents often complain about roads, drainage, and trash collection. What changes would you make to fix the basic city services?
So for the most part, depending on, I don't know what roads if you're talking about maybe close to your home, yeah. I get that part, but some of these roads are up under the auspices of the state. That falls up on the state, like your highways and some roads, but now those roads where I know where I've gotten 7 flat tires and I've gotten 2 bent rims.
It was first.
Oh my God. Right in front of one of the most visited places in the United States was Elvis Presley's house. So I avoid that, but yet, people, I hear some people, of course, who on the campaign trail, you represent that district. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't be that way, but I bet you this. Remember this, the city divides at Highland. It's a difference in the city.
Right.
I bet you don't see that out that way. Why is that?
Why? Why? Elvis Presley been like that since forever. The cones up, why?
Not good representation. But do we complain here? Do we go down to the city council?
Nope.
Or do we go and complain, when something's not right? A black person can come to your house right now today and you say, man, my air conditioner ain't working, right? Mm-hmm. And, okay, he leave, it's working when he left, then all of a sudden, it stopped working, right? So your first thought, of course, probably, I think you and I think alike, well, we need to get him back out here.
Right.
He'll come back out, fix it, leave, break again, right? Mm-hmm. So you like, no, hold on a sec. So you gonna call his supervisor, you gonna call his company, you gonna call it a Better Business Group, whatever, right? But see, some of us wouldn't go that far with that. Some will say, well, I don't want to call in because I don't want him to lose his job, and we don't hold each other accountable. We don't hold it when people when they ain't picking up trash and when they ain't picking up limbs and stuff in front of your house, right? Go down to the county commissioner, city council, say, well, how come they ain't picking this up? We don't say anything about it. We just let them do it. So guess what? We get used to it.
Right. Okay.
So we get used to, like, Park Avenue. I see people going down Park. I'm gonna tell you what I asked somebody when I was doing that work over there. I said, a person from Orange, a wife from Orange Mountain, right down in Dallas, and also lives on Selleck Circle. Mm-hmm. I said, do you believe we can get a Starbucks over on Park Avenue, Orange Mountain? Mm-hmm. Oh no, man, it'll never happen. It'll get robbed every other day. But see, our mindset sees that, right? Not knowing that, believe it or not, people East Memphis go up and down Park Avenue coming downtown. Yeah. You can get that.
Right.
If you believe you can get that. But see, we see you going every day back and forth, and you know what, man, what you look the same old thing. So your mind that's all you used to seeing. Yeah. So guess what? It's okay. It's not okay.
Right.
It's not okay. It's not, because I always tell these young kids, I got a person over in Orange Mound. Her father, her granddad, was a construction guy, builder. So she went over there and bought 5 of his lots. They were willed to her. Man, she put a house over there like a house down in Southland, right? Mm-hmm. Over on Grand in Orange Mound. And when the New York Times came, went over to our house. Oh man, grass, big pink fence, cameras, all the above. And what people don't understand here, you can't dream what you don't see.
Right.
If you ain't used to looking at that, you say, well, what other house ain't like that?
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But if you go outside, right next door, you got blight, and people don't realize if you got blight around your house, they bring your property values down. So it's not fair to them people, like my wife's home house, 15 on Dallas, kept it up. You got several homes that's being kept up. But what about the house three, four doors down, grass is high, it's boarded up? Guess what that does to your property value? It brings it down. Right. So is that fair for people who have kept their property over there? So, you know, look, get up, go talk to the city council, go talk to your representatives at the state level and say, hey, look, we got a problem.
Right.
There's a problem. But until we have a voice, there's no voice. We're not a voice when it comes to certain. But I tell you what, I bet they're a voice. Now, where I live in Midtown, I promise where I live in Midtown, leave your car been on my street for about a good 2 days, see what's going to happen. Yeah. People going to call. You see, once again, that neighborhood. You know, they're going to call, they're going to ask, they're going to put a note on the, hey, you need to come get your car, versus, you know, and we deserve it because you pay taxes, again, property taxes. So, you know, I tell you one thing I'm going to invest in, that'd be number one, is our neighborhood night out programs with some fidelity, not just going to a neighborhood watch when I was running for office, eat a couple hamburgers and leave. It's bigger than that. You know, give them the person who want to hear his neighborhood watch, give them the proper resources, and bring people in like the boy did, like Brandon Scott did in Maryland. He invested in those programs all night out. After school care, different programs in the cities or in the neighborhoods where they're vulnerable, and guess what? They deter crime. So you got to think outside the box and bring them kind of programs to your neighborhoods with fidelity, not just, all right, if you're in charge of neighborhood night out, you have a big spread, chips, and people just come just for that. It's bigger than that.
So, I don't mean to cut you off. The crazy part about it, I've never actually seen a neighborhood watch. I only see it on TV or in white folk neighborhood. So how does that work? What is a neighborhood watch?
Okay, so in my we're a member of the Evergreen Neighborhood Association, right? Right. Your association is linked into that neighborhood watch program, right? And most, like, you know, I would say maybe in Orange Mound, yours could be either Orange Mound, it could be Glenview, either or. So what happens is they'll come in, I don't know who heads it up, maybe city mayor or county, I don't know how they do theirs, but know where I live. So what they would do is they say, okay, y'all want to volunteer to be block captain. They say you want to be a block captain for your block, right? So because me and my wife are block captains on our block. So when neighborhood watch come, you know, when it's time to get together and do all of that, we call the neighbors on the street and say, do you want to host it? We normally host it outside. Everybody bring barbecue grill, everybody was participate, bring food, whatever, right? But before you have left, guess what I've done? We have gotten, they give you some forms. I know everybody's name on that street. We got their telephone numbers, you got the emails, you got all the above. And so then you'll be connected, like for instance, in Evergreen right now, when there's a crime or something, it goes on it goes on my phone, an email that says, there was an assault crime about 2 miles from your house. So it keeps you abreast of what's going on in your neighborhood, you know, if it's close to your neighborhood. And also what it does is you have like different meetings, you know, for concerns. Like you might bring both mayors out to come and speak to your group. So you've been the block captain, you'll be the one to put the steam in it, keeping your neighborhood aware of what's going on. If you don't like certain stuff, how they come in and try to build certain neighborhood, you don't like it. It's pushed through your neighborhood association. So that's how that works. So, you know, I would like to see how we can look at not just maybe other cities, but even, you know, some of these places out east who have well-established or just getting back again what we're saying, you got to work together. Yeah, they got resources that we might not even know how they doing theirs at the end of the day, regardless. Yeah. See, we got to work to see how they did theirs. Okay, come over to our neighborhood association group and tell me what we're doing wrong, or give me some advice. You know, see, we can't work in silos, and that's what has happened here. We all work in silos because guess what? Germantown, Arlington, all of them, and Middleton, But they got problems too.
Right.
It's not just the same problems.
Right. I'm gonna tell you why I believe you, because you're not putting all the responsibility on yourself. Like one man can't do everything. Mm-hmm. So when I get up and I hear somebody talking and they talk about all the things they're gonna do, it sounds regurgitated and it don't sound realistic. You put the responsibility back on the people. It's something y'all got to do, and I like that. Man, that's
you know
crazy.
What? And it's not, because what happens is when you go into any office, you don't know where the shortfalls are. When I came into the assessor's office, I was supposed to have one appraiser for every 1,500 parcels. So that means I should have had 84 appraisers coming in there, right?
Right.
I only had 35. Right? So that means to me that all the pressure is being put on the residential. Well, what about new construction, permits? What about green line? You see? So I had to come in with a plan to say, how do I build more appraisers? So now I got about 20 young folks who I got on a McKissick plan to how, they want to be appraisers, right? And I teach the test in-house, to help grow them. And you can be an appraiser, but to get certain certifications to go do the med or FedEx form, you gotta have proper certification. That's how you start making the money.
Right.
So it's a difference between a residential appraiser versus one that can go out and appraise anything. So I got a program where I built 20 more young folks. It's in the program now. So when I bring young folks in, that's the educational plan that they come to. And guess what I do too in the summertime? For the interns that come work in our summer program, my assistant teaches them civics, how to vote, issues, and we bring in a voting machine and teach them how to vote.
Now, where is this?
In my office, the assessor's office.
Right. You hold classes there?
I got we got a classroom, right? So we hire students in the summertime for the county.
Okay.
So
okay.
yeah, so they'll come out and they work in different departments, but also what we do is we do a civic class. Like part of your training is also civics, like what's the issues, how to vote, are you registered to vote? So see, while I got them there, I teach them too. I teach them who I am, who the mayor is, who everybody is, and that's where it starts. You have to teach them.
You got to teach them.
So that's what my group, and believe it or not, Eric, man, everybody, when the summertime comes, they all want to come out to my office. Every last one of them want to come to my office. And what I make them do is I have them go before the county commission, and I have them do a video. And you do a video and tell everybody what you learned and what's the takeaway from my office. And also I have a banquet where the parents come and we give them awards and stuff. So that's part of my program, that I instituted since I've been out there, because our kids, they need some guidance. And I try to do that while I'm in this office. I think that's why God put me here, not just to help constituents on the outside, but also our kids to understand civics.
Man, so I own a credit restoration and financial literacy company, right? I also do, I have an apparel company. I do a lot of stuff, and I actually network with a lot of different entrepreneurs and stuff like that. And one of the things that we wanted to kind of get going is, again, implementing this in the schools, coming, talking, whatever. But I have, but you can't get people to cooperate. So do you see that maybe something that you probably implement as far as somebody that specializes in certain things, whether it's real estate or credit or whatever, to come in the schools and actually hold classes and talk to the kids?
So what I do a lot of, matter of fact, we just did a career day with Melrose. So
man, I
did a career day at Melrose.
Yeah.
So that's all I got. My office when it comes to communication, that's all we do. I think we were at Bountiful Blessing maybe about a month ago at a health fair. So I've been doing those from day one because I know the importance of getting my office out there for people to understand.
Right.
And I'm working with my fraternity in the Bull. This year will be our 4th annual STEM summit, trying to get our kids. It's called a parity project because we've realized that Caucasian kids are way up here and Asian kids, when it comes to income, up here, and we're almost at the bottom. You know why? That's because of the training part of it. And this year's I think the second year, the University of Memphis has a black Nigerian, his name is Dean Okoli, and he's over the Hearst School of Engineering, and he hosted the STEM Summit. So our job for the fraternity is, they're saying hey, look, where are these kids? The Sigma Pi Phi Delta Blue, it's not part of the Divine Nine. I'm a Kappa on the Divine Nine side.
Okay.
And these guys are like they had Goldman, they probably got some of the top jobs in this city and all around the country. And they're saying, hey, look, where are these kids? Bring us these kids. So we were on the phone. This is our fourth annual. We had one at Rhodes College. We had one at Civil Rights Museum. We're trying to find out who the stakeholders are. So we found out that a lot of people doing the STEMs work here, but when it comes to our kids, we were talking to Dina Coley, man, I almost wanted to I almost wanted to get off the Zoom call. Because basically what he was saying, Eric, was our kids won't make it in the STEMs field. He said, now, don't get me wrong, I'm not discouraging you. He said, well, this is what I'm telling you. He said, now you got to take a lot of these kids from where they are. Now, this is here in Shelby County. Because the Boule chapters, the Boule in Michigan, they're working toward getting more African-American males to be medical doctors, because most of our fraternity, most of them are doctors, because this fraternity was founded by doctors in 1906. 2 doctors in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It's called Sigma Pi Phi. It's founded by 2 doctors, right?
Okay.
So their focus has been on medical, professional, whatever the case might be. So, and he said, think about this. We had several people on the call, and he said, first of all, we don't even have math teachers. We can't even find math teachers to be in the school system, right? Because everybody sometimes thinks STEM's about math, which some of it is, right?
Right.
And then he said, second thing is, a lot of our kids are not coming up from that father-mother home.
Okay.
Some of them, when I came up, the father wasn't there, you had the uncle, cuz, you had the village, but the village is not there anymore.
Yeah.
And then you got some kids, when it comes, we talk about not just the regular resources, right? For some of our kids, they just don't have that backing from the family. They don't have that parental involvement from the family to take the next step. Then you got those kids who are smart and who do, understand where they want to go. And that's why we have to say, hey, look, because we have other vendors there like Baptist, because the president and CEO of Dr. Wiki, Michael Wiki over at Memphis, he's part of the fraternity. Dr. Coogwood, CEO of Region 1, part of the fraternity. So, they help out with we have vendors there in case they want to do something else, but, that's an issue until it needs to be a reality here in Shelby County that you could be an engineer, or you could be a doctor, you could be an engineer, and that's where the parity comes when it comes to the jobs. Everybody don't have to load boxes on FedEx, but you won't have that kind of income, versus the others and their income when it comes to just having a better way of life for your family. But we just try to, get them exposed, and we still work. This is going to be our 4th annual coming this year, and what I want you to do when I leave, I got your information, I want you to set up a booth. And it's going to be, you can set up a booth, and you can talk about entrepreneurship. So that's part of our initiative too, owning your own business. So that'd be perfect.
Awesome.
For you to do that.
I'm ready.
That'd be perfect.
Okay.
Those kind of things we need to do, man, to try to, make sure our kids are where they need to be.
I know that's right, man. I love the discussion. I was able to get into your brain, understand the man behind the politician. Last question I got for you, man. You going to this, given that you actually get the seat, what's your biggest fear about becoming mayor, if there is any?
As long as I've been in this business, on that side, of course, I've never had the top job as CEO of the city. I ain't gonna say it's fear. It'll be more of what you would call pushback. Because of course, when you come in, I bring a team of probably some people I know from FedEx, businesses and all over, even from the, on the community side too, like some of these, like over Hyde Park, over there with Sarah Carpenter, Latoya Carpenter, like over in Orange Mound, you got the mayor of Orange Mound. So I know all of them. They got to be at the table too, right? So I would bring all of them to the table to decide, what do you want from me? I want to hear from you. Tell me what you need. Right? Now, if you ain't part of this program, right, it's like, I need people who are going to be with my program and see my vision. So it's not really what you call fear. It's really called, will they be able to adjust to doing the work that's going to move the needle?
Right.
You know, because if I come to and do let's say I put you over finance or whatever, and I say, well, what's the problem? Why I don't have the money to do this? Or how come we ain't going after no grants to get additional money? Because people don't like raising property taxes, right?
Right.
So tell me, what do we need to do to get some of these programs and apply for some of these grants at the state to help build our neighborhoods back up, to help have additional money for the police, additional monies for safety. So it's more of a factor for me is, will people be ready to go to work?
Yeah.
Because it's time to go to work. And you know, it's going to be a heavy lift. I'm not even down there yet. I can just imagine the lift. So you got to take bits and pieces of it's like biting the elephant. You got to bite them one piece at a time. So you got to prioritize what you want first versus as you go down the line. So my first thing I want to do is I want to hear from the people in these neighborhoods that really need the help. And I mean, when I say the help, I mean all over. Even in East Memphis, it's the same Kool-Aid, just different flavor. It's all the same. Everybody got different issues, you know. We just have, Memphis is on life support because it's the oldest municipality. Like, every time it storms and rain, guess what? My lights cut off. Every time.
Right.
Every time. And my neighbor next door got a generator. Wife said, why don't you go buy a generator? Oh, okay. But it shouldn't happen like that.
It shouldn't happen, man.
It shouldn't happen like that. But, you know, I learned to deal with it when we talked about earlier. You're so used to it, you deal with it, you know, but I shouldn't have to deal with that. So that's another priority that I know it's a big investment. I'm trying to put wires underground. It's an old infrastructure. That's why you're getting what you're getting when it comes to gender. But it's not fear. It's just a matter of what the expectations of what do I expect, you know? Because I've never been at that level, but I got an idea what's going to be the number one issue, but it's not fear. It's just more of what I expect and expectations that I expect from the workers, or you want to be a part of this team, or how we're going to get there. And that's how you're going to be, when it's time to do evaluation, that's how you're going to be evaluated.
Right.
Based upon what you put in to do the work that I'm going to need, because I'm going to need money to do the work for the community.
Right. Well, Mr. Melvin Burgess, I definitely appreciate you coming.
Man. Thanks, Eric. Appreciate y'all. Finally, we got it together.
Finally, man. And let the people know where they can find you, where they can donate, if so, and how they can possibly get in touch with you.
Of course, you can go to www.melvinburgess.com. That goes to my official website. If you want to donate there, and if you want to hear more about what my platform is, and the good thing is we will be opening, I'm going to have it on social media, our headquarters is going to be at 2887 Poplar, which is the Chickasaw Garden, not Chickasaw Garden, but Chickasaw Crossing. I think it's a Lenny's there. It used to be a pizza place that they closed down. So we're going to be in that shopping center on next Saturday, and my mind can get the information right. I think it's from 11 to 1. But you'll see it on social media. Everybody come out. We're going to have free food, and you can come pick up signs, literature, and help us with the volunteers if you want to volunteer on the campaign. So when we're in full mode, it's time to go, and hopefully, we can do what we need to do to push the word out to let you all know I'm the best. I'm not the best. I'm the most experienced, and I'm on my literature it's going to say bold leadership. I mean, I will be the voice. And I know what comes with bold leadership, but I just believe in doing the right thing. And my dad always taught me that right will follow you, regardless if don't seem right when you first do it. But it's just time for new leadership. This county that has shaped us, or shaped Shelby County for the past 2 years, 8 years, it's in need of repair. And I'm the person to come in to repair that. So vote Melvin Burgess on May the 5th. Early voting starts April 19th. So I look forward to seeing you all at the grand opening. So bring your friends, your neighbors, your kids. It's definitely a family affair.
Awesome, man. Again, Melvin Burgess. It's been another episode of Universal Thought Podcast. Remember, go vote May 5th. Early voting April 19th? April 19th. Make sure you be a voice and go out and do your part. And again, I'm not telling you who to vote for, but watch this interview and, take away from it what you need to in order for you to make the right decision. May 5th, man. Again, Universal Thought Podcast. We'll see y'all on the next episode.